Okay, so here we are, live with the giraffe. This funny faced giraffe that I took a photo of in Hamilton, Ontario at the African Safari Park. Pretty funny. He just got a drink of water. That was a great shot. So I decided to do a painting of him. And you can see I've already cut pretty much most of all the paper for the transfer. I'm going to finish it off. I'm going to cut these last few pieces. You can't tell from the video screen how close I am, but there's probably about 8 or 10 more pieces I'm going to cut. So that's what I'm going to do now. And then we'll do the sanding. And after the sanding, we'll spray it with water. Taking off a piece. After we spray it with water, I'll rub that paper off, and then it'll reveal the ink that's being transferred on top of beeswax. So I'm taking off a piece. As you can see, I pulled one off there. And I'll bring my thing up here. I'm going to use that piece as a template for cutting the piece that's got ink on it I want to transfer. And in this area, the giraffe's face, it's pretty much white, but I'm going to go with this. I don't usually stay with the exact color. I like to mix it up and throw some different things in there. As you can tell, this has kind of got a yellowish green tint to it. I've got that kind of scattered throughout the giraffe. It also had purples and pink and red, orange. It's good to have a variety of colors. This might be a good spot for some green. Let's warm up a little green because it's darker. I want to look close to the original, but I also want to make sure there's a variety of colors and shapes just to draw interest to it. From a distance, it's going to look close to what the photograph is, but once you get up close, you'll start seeing the different textures and colors. And at this point, it's kind of hard to tell where the paper is and where the collage of magazine paper is. Kind of runs together. And the reason I just show the last parts of this, you can tell it's pretty boring. Not many people want to sit here and watch me cut paper. Alright, so I got one here. Again, I'm still new at this YouTube thing. If there's comments being left, I'm probably not seeing them. For some reason I'm not seeing a live feed right now. I hope somebody's able to watch this. don't know if you're watching, but on my end, I'm not getting a live feed on my iPad. So I can't tell if anybody's watching or if I'm even going live. So I'm going to guess I'm recording at least. After I get these pieces cut, I may regroup and try something different, make sure I am recording. At least before I get to the point where I'm rubbing the paper off. Cool stuff. This ain't working. At least I have my phone doing a time lapse. I'll post that. This doesn't work. You can tell I like switching out colors. Gotta keep a variety. So much better. If it was all just local color, no texture, then it would be pretty boring. I'll show you an example of another piece I did here in just a second. It had a lot of texture. Simple shaped objects are the hardest because you have to keep a variety of colors and shapes and textures. But you don't have a lot of shadows and things like that to work with usually if it's a simple shape. This baseball's an example. Alright, I'm gonna still trying to figure this out. I wish I had some way of knowing if this is actually showing. But I don't know. Hey, it is working. I'm getting comments. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything on my feed. I hope y'all can hear it. Black screen. Thank you, Crafty Kitty. I'm gonna see if I can't fix this. Hey, there it is. Woo! I don't know what I did. I'm just clicking on things. One of these days I'll actually finish doing some research on how to do the YouTube videos. I just wanted to try my hand at it before I sat down and watched a bunch of videos because it's hard. There's so many options out there on how to learn to do something. So there we go. Now I can't see comments. Oh me. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to continue as if you can see. I can see it on my screen, so I'm guessing y'all can. At least you can hear me and see what I'm doing, even though if you comment, I can't see it right now. I've got all the paper cut, and I guess you probably missed the last parts of that because we had a black screen. What I'm getting ready to do now is take a block, and I'm going to push this paper into the beeswax a little bit tighter. And as I was talking about textures, here's a baseball dead, simple subject. To add interest to it, I added textures of text. You see music notes, different colors, concentrated highly on the shadowing and stuff. So every subject, you got to take a different approach. This one, amazingly, that little baseball right there took forever to make. A lot of detail to follow through with. The giraffe hasn't been too bad. I'm about 4 days on this thing. Just a lot of paper to cut, and I tried to do smaller pieces so I could get a lot of detail, especially around his eyes and the tongue sticking out of the mouth. So let's start. Here's my wood block. If you've watched my videos before, you've seen this part. As I'm doing this, I'm looking to make sure all the paper has been taken off and replaced with magazine paper, because otherwise it's going to be a void there. If I sand it, spray it with water, I'll be taking off the paper and just showing the ink in the background, which happens occasionally. No big deal usually, but especially on a larger piece like this. Small pieces, it's a little more important to make sure you don't leave any the regular paper and just get the ink on there. So all this is doing is making sure that the paper is flat on top of the beeswax, kind of burnishing it in. It lets me know if there's any pieces of paper that are sitting on there loose. I want to know now before I start sanding, because if I start sanding and I get that dust and a piece of that paper pops off, the dust gets on the beeswax, then it won't stick. So to ensure I get it transferred, flatten out the paper. And then the sanding part, all I'm trying to do is take the gloss off the magazine paper so that the paper will absorb the water that I spray on it. This and the sanding is a workout. Work up a little bit of a sweat here. Alright, so I rub my hand over it just to kind of check and see if I've got any pieces of paper that are kind of sticking out. Like I said, when I do the sanding, that paper tries to get up underneath the sandpaper tries to get up underneath the magazine paper. I think we're good. We'll see here in just a second. So I just use 220 grit sandpaper. Like I said, I'm just taking the gloss off of the magazine paper. Get everything out of the way here. Once the gloss is off, I'll remove this outside paper. I keep it on there to keep the dust from this sanding getting on my beeswax, because that beeswax on the outside area is going to be used again. I'll scrape it off and throw it in the crock pot, melt it, use it on another painting. The last painting I did was 24 by 36 and the whole panel was covered. Unlike this one, it's got a lot of negative areas, so I don't have to sand all this. That other one was rough. It took a while. This one's only going to take a few minutes. So hopefully the ones that were on here earlier that didn't see anything, I hope you come back, watch this video, or are back. Might have to figure out where the video came back on and put that in the comments. Oh well, things happen. Okay, I think I pretty much got it sanded now. So I'm gonna wipe this dust off before I remove that outside paper. Just wet a cloth and get the dust off. It's amazing how nasty paper can be. Okay, so now I can take off the paper in the outside area. Not have to worry about the dust. What's funny is this beeswax came out of the crock pot really sticky, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. You can see here these spots. You can't see it there. Hold it up a little closer. These spots on the paper are from the honey and the beeswax coming through. It's a little sticky, which is good for a transfer. Okay. So there's our outline. And we'll spray it with water now and rub off the pulp of the paper. When I spray it, you can see it gets darker. The pulp kind of gets translucent when it's wet, so you start seeing some of the colors come through. And of course, the more I rub it, the more that water absorbs into the pulp, and it gets softer and softer. Then I can eventually just rub it off. And I have no idea how this draft's going to turn out. I've done several animals, but First giraffe. And I'll have to spend a little time after I get the paper off carving the details in, especially the hairs and stuff around the ears and the mane. You put them in as solid colors, then you take away ink to show details. Let's see how good I did on his eye. I'm always worried I don't put enough dark, and there's a spot I forgot to put a piece, almost too light. But it's hard to tell right now. I try not to judge until I get to all the paper off, and then I start doing some carving, the details. Because I can bring some highlights and lowlights out by taking away ink and then taking away the beeswax in the negative area. Lighting issues. Go away. Well, I think this is going to be cool. You can already tell we got a lot of good colors in here. And the more pulp I get off of it, the more those other colors come through. And then in the end, after I get all the details cut in, I'll hit it with the heat gun. That'll brighten it up even more. And then spraying it with the Kamar resin at the end really pops the colors. I have to do quite a bit of carving around the mouth there. And of course the eyes, I'll do some stuff. I'm going to try to leave a lot of this raw, just because sometimes I think I overdo the carving. And I really like leaving it kind of organic in areas. You focus on details in some areas and then you let it go in others. This makes for a more interesting piece. I'm not going for photorealist. On the screen he looks a little goofy without being able to see the details of the tongue. Like something stuck to him. Alright, now I'm just wetting this cloth because this allows me to, now that I got the paper off, I can do a little buffing. It gets more of that white pulpy stuff out. And then there are times at this point I would bring the heat gun out and go ahead and set the ink into the beeswax. But I also like to working on some of the tiny details while the wax is still cold, a little harder. I feel like I have more control with my tools. Sometimes when you get it warm, your ink gets set, you can easily slip your tool. It moves almost too easy, and you'll end up taking out something that you don't want to. So I'm going to grab some tools out here. And usually start with this sharp, kind of just a pointed object. I've got different types of sharp tools, pointed things. um, from real fine to a little bit wider and blunt. Then of course I go into my carving tools for clay. So I'm going to start with just my medium size. And I like to look at my photo while I'm doing this so I can pick up just certain areas of what needs most attention. We'll start with one of the eyes. And it's almost like a drawing in reverse. I'm taking away areas and I'm leaving areas for shadows. The highlights I'm actually drawing, if that makes sense. My next video, I'm going to move the camera down a little closer. I'm looking at it now, you can't really see as well as I'd like for you to. We'll work on that. This is all still new. Sorry I don't talk a whole lot when I'm doing this. I'm busy back and forth translating where I want to cut into it. A lot of times I just go in and kind of do a broad scope of detail, and then I come back in later and fine tune it. All these little ink balls, I have to make sure I get those off. When I take the heat gun to it, they can be a mess if they're still in the painting. Could have made his eyes, around his eyes, a little darker, like I did over here. Could have gotten more detail. Every painting I do, I see something where I could have done it better. That's the way it goes. It's kind of like just working with acrylic or anything else. You're modeling your subject. kind of a crude way of drawing. I kind of like it. Not very precise, and I liked it when you get up close to it. It's really raw. I like too that if you do have an area that's too dark, you can do the crosshatch technique and take away just a little ink at a time instead of taking all of it out, which is nice, especially when you want to leave some of the textures from the magazine ink in the print. And not every painting has this much, or has the need to be cut into like this one. Animals tend to need more attention like this than like architecture has some, but you can leave a little bit more of the raw. I'll say I'm not totally happy with the nose on my giraffe. I feel like I'm missing right here. This one may need a little extra work. So I didn't get near dark enough with my colors right here on his left nostril. There are ways to fix that. I don't like to do it, but sometimes you have to put a little heat to it. Sometimes I scrape off an area, then try to recreate. It's tedious, pretty time consuming, but I may have to do that to make this piece right. But I'm going to wait till I'm done doing most of the detail work before I decide on that. I'll just leave that area for right now. I may be able to come in here and lighten up around it a little more. Looks like he's got one nostril. This one's really big, another one's really small. I'm definitely gonna have to do something there. We'll go ahead and finish out the rest of it, and then I'm gonna think about how I'm gonna handle that nostril. Next live video, I may need to do something a little simpler. One of my bees, maybe. Did a goat once before and had the same issue. That not a goat, it was a sheep. I'm sorry. I thought it was gonna be so cool, and I'd done sheep before that turned out really nice. And I just knew this one was gonna be the same way, but it ended up being just okay. It's kind of frustrating. Good time to use this tool. It's got little teeth on it. So in areas where I want to take out ink and show highlights, does it a different way. It's also good for making whiskers. Okay, got to do the main. I may do a little bit of this before signing off. Because of this nostril area, I'm probably going to put some ink somehow, do a transfer there to darken that up, because it's clearly way too washed. Frustrating that I did that, but it happens. Part of it, this process is very organic, and there are things that you can't control. It's part of what I like about it. I can't put too much pressure on myself because I have no control over the way the beeswax has pits in it. And I think that's what my problem was there. It wasn't quite smooth enough in an area that it really needed to be. That's all right. I've dealt with worse problems where I couldn't save the painting. I think I can fix this one and make it right. We'll see. For now, I'll do the things I can. And then just go from there. So if you're still watching, thank you. I know this is probably not the most exciting thing to watch. But I'm going to keep you live while I do this. Why not? This is how you repair a painting. First, I need to take out that area. But I want to have a piece cut that will fit that space. It kind of looks like an upside down semicolon. This takes a little luck and skill both. So I'm gonna have to do it on the back side, the shape I want, because the color I want is face down. And I'm gonna do it in one piece instead of two. And it doesn't have to be exact because I can cut away. Let's see. Oh, that's perfect. Hell yeah. So you can see I put the black side down. But before I do the transfer, I have to take that off because it won't sit on top of that other black. And I want to make sure I'm good and smooth. So I'm basically going to just carve out that other ink, and that'll reveal pure beeswax in the background, which will give me a place to transfer the new. And by carving it out, I smoothed it enough to where it started to fit in there nicely. Now, the tricky part here sanding this without sanding away the ink on the outside areas. But I've done it before. Here we go. I usually don't sand it a lot. I take off just enough of that gloss so I can get a good rub on it. Yes. It looks better, but something looks off. I think the way the sun's coming across his face, it's so dark over here. This is supposed to be, I think I'm going to put a little darker area right there to balance it out, because it still looks a little deformed. So let me find me a good piece here to do that. And I want kind of a triangle shape. Comes off the nostril and up. And this is going to be just a little bit lighter. Yeah, that'll work. I'll kind of draw it out so I can see where I'm going to cut. Think how to do it. I didn't know this video was going to turn into a clinic on how to repair a mistake. There you go. Good times. Oh yeah. See, it's already much better. I'm afraid to even touch it now. Funny when you have to repair something, you just goof up again like I did last time. Be very careful this time. I think it didn't help either. I used this orange around the nostril. Try to get some highlights in there. So now to get even more light areas, I'm going to take off a little more wax. I think I've saved it. By using this tool, I get of course, a little broader stroke on the area, which allows for more highlights. But I usually save this because I don't want to commit to taking too much off until I know it's the right thing to do. And the way he's holding his tongue out, his face is off. All good. I'm gonna hit a little of this. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for a minute. And I usually revisit a painting, especially something like this. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the negative area, so I'm gonna take the heat gun out and warm it up so it's easier to scrape away this outside area. And then I'll look at it and see if I need to do any more detail work inside here. I'm thinking, yes, I'm probably going to have to do some. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Just looking around the upper lip and how dark that is. I didn't touch that earlier. Usually the way it goes, I think I'm about happy with it. Can I find something else? In the raw. Trying to get some of these little beeswax ink balls out of the way. And the studio floor is covered in those things. I try to keep them cleaned up, but it's hard. It happens. Alright, I'm gonna make some noise. I saved the outside areas where the hair would be around his little horns. I'll carve more on that when I'm taking out the beeswax. Same on the mane. I'm going to heat it up so it's softer, easier to remove. I'm also, while I'm at them, going to set the ink. Just kind of fuses the ink into the beeswax. A little stronger bond. So be careful doing this that you're not distracted. You will blow a hole in it. It's not fun. I've recently done that. And the more you carve into it with some of these tools, the faster it heats up and will move the ink around. You may not be able to tell it, but as I hit it with the heat gun, that ink kind of moves once it gets the temperature. Old smart ass giraffe. That's what it looks like. Looks like a smart ass. There's dirty looking areas in my beeswax. That's honey. And I'm hoping it doesn't stain the wood panel that I put it on. I haven't had any problems with that yet. But I'm always worried that dark with the honey kind of put some ugly marks. We'll see. So since I'm going to be taking off a lot of this large area, I'm going to use my larger scraper. I don't usually use this one a lot. It's good for smoothing a panel out though. And the reason I don't use it is because I like seeing the tool marks. The smaller the tool, the more of those marks you get. But this is it's a lot of area and I didn't get it very hot. Get some of this, then I'll go to a smaller tool in a second. The great thing about this, taking off that beeswax, it really brings out that lighter color wood in the background, which makes the subject stand out a lot more. Kind of blends in with that beeswax. Yeah, this is another time I have to be careful about those little ink balls that I scrape out. Because that ink, when I heat this back up again, it could easily get back on that wood and it'll definitely stain. I've done that before. more heat to this thing. These larger paintings are hard to keep warm enough to work with. Again, I got to be careful. If I let it get too cold like it is now, I'll try to force the tool through and it'll slide or something, and I'll end up with a gash in where I've got ink transferred. But yet I keep working instead of heating it up. Alright, time to give in. She's coming along nice. May just heat one side this time, since I'm going to have to heat the other before I get to it. If you're on here commenting, man, I'm sorry I can't respond. I'm still trying to figure all this out. The videos will get better, I promise, as I figure out what works and what doesn't. I think next time I'll probably work with a little smaller painting too. We may do a bee next time. I need to do a bunch of bees for shows coming up. Depending on what size I can do the whole process of the bee probably. Depending on how long you want to spend with me. Or I could do a live video here and there throughout a larger piece. Instead of doing the whole thing, just do progress shots. That might be cool. This might be a cool one to leave the wax thicker on the outside area. Just let it kind of shine through the middle of it. Might have to think about that. I'll leave some of it for now, and I can always come back and take it off if I don't like it. Funny when I'm doing these videos, I'm constantly reminded of Bob Ross and how I watched him when I was growing up. Used to love Bob Ross. He did such a good job in his painting demonstrations. It's funny, back when I watched him, I had no interest in art really. I just liked watching and hearing him talk. Keep getting my big head in the way, don't I? All right. may call it done for now, anyhow. I'll probably work on it a little bit more here and there, but for the most part, I'll call it done. Well, I'll show you what I do on all my paintings when I'm done. Of course, I sign the back of every painting, and generally I put my initials on the front. I carve it in. I thought about writing out my whole name, but I don't want my name to be an eyesore in the front of the painting. Distraction. So I just carve it in. It kind of blends in with the rest of the textures of the painting. Carving away. Getting tired of this carving. Before I go any further, there. You can see the finished piece pretty much. Like I said, I'm going to come in, especially on this mane, I'm going to do a little more carving there to make that look a little better. And I'm going to ponder on keeping this outside layer of beeswax. It's kind of a cool effect. So I may leave that. But to show you on the back of every painting, this baseball is a good example. See, I carved my initials somewhere in the bottom right, usually. Then on the back, I sign it. I've got an item number, ink transfer, and beeswax, and usually there's a title. Then I have a stamp that has my logo, website, email, which is just a good old stamp. So there you go. That was a long, boring video, I'm sure, with technical difficulties. But wow, look at all the things you learned. Thanks for watching, and we'll do another video soon. It'll be better and shorter. Take care. Charles is singing her name like rain on my window. I want to release her, but I can't begin to know how. I say, Ray, let me forget about Georgia. She'll never love me like I know love before.
Hey dude, I was trying to watch your thing on YouTube and the feed went out. I don't know what happened. It was sort of blinking off and on the picture. It would freeze and then start again, and then all of a sudden it just went totally blank. So I don't know if that's a glitch you need to look at or what. It was a problem they had or something. But I was trying to watch it. Pretty cool so far. You got to the part where you were gonna take the tape off the water and then it just disappeared. So I was never gonna get back on. It's good having coffee with you, man. Enjoy the morning. Talk to you later. Bye.